Well, my friends, I know it's been a little while since our last video, and I am finally behind the wheel of another new car. This one is a 2023 Kia Sportage EX Premium. In the States, this is more or less the SX Prestige, although there are some differences about it. We will talk about that in a minute. But this new generation Kia Sportage has gotten quite a bit bigger from the previous generation, and it's something that we talked about when we drove the Sportage last. It was sort of the tired model in Kia's lineup. Now this is fresh, looks great, has a much bigger profile, and should be a pretty good seller. Now this is configured just under $40,000 Canadian, about $37,000 in the US for the SX Prestige. There's only one engine choice for this specific version. It is the 2.5 liter 4-cylinder engine. It has gotten a power boost, a little update since the previous generation, now producing 187 horsepower, which is up 6, and 178 pound-feet of torque, which is up 3. It also uses an 8-speed automatic transmission, and we do have all-wheel drive with this model. Now some of the exterior and interior dimensions are better. They have improved over the previous generation. The wheelbase has gotten 3.4 inches longer. The overall length is 6.9 inches longer. It's 0.4 of an inch wider and 1.1 inches taller. Plus we have 1.5 inches of additional ground clearance, which could be good if you are going off-road with this. That is a pretty important number to have. Now the rear legroom has gotten the biggest interior improvement with 3.1 inches, which is really good, especially if you are a child or an adult sitting in the back seat. You're going to appreciate having more room. And the cargo capacity is also quite a bit bigger. In fact, it's probably one of the biggest ones in the compact segment. This is really stretching what the compact segment has to offer, almost getting into that mid-size segment. And the tow rating is also up 500 pounds to 2,500 pounds total, so pretty good stuff overall. Now, there's some key features about this new generation Kia Sportage which I think are interesting. If you go up with the top end trim, or as I mentioned, if you have the SX Prestige in the US, you get the dual panoramic 12.3-inch gauge cluster and infotainment system. We're starting to see that from a lot of manufacturers where we have one large panel for the driver and center console. I think it looks very nice. With this one, it's a little bit smaller for the driver's side, but still works extremely well. We only have 6 speakers on this, but you can get the 8-speaker Harman Kardon system. We do have navigation, driver's memory with both front seats having power, heat and ventilation with a heated steering wheel up front, heated rear outboard seats, dual zone automatic climate control with an air vent in the second row where the center is, which is a nice thing to have as well. We also have a panoramic sunroof, LED exterior lighting including LED fog lights, a power rear liftgate, remote starter, and a heated windshield, which is something that we don't usually find in a non-electric vehicle. So some good stuff coming on the new Sportage. And like I said, depending on which trim you go with, the features are going to be slightly different. In the States, I don't think you get the heated seats at this trim, but you are getting the nicer screen and the Harman Kardon audio system. So some small changes there between the Canadian model and the US model. But for the most part, there is a lot to like about this. Although, with a new hybrid option available for this, I think that's the one to go with, because as we'll talk about on our road test, the fuel economy has suffered quite a bit when it comes to this vehicle. So let's do that. Let's take it on the road. We'll talk about everything else you need to know if you're in the market for a new compact crossover and you're curious what's new with the 2023 Kia Sportage EX Premium. All right, folks, we're on the road with the Kia Sportage. And as always, we want to talk about the fuel economy numbers first. But the thing is, it's kind of the title of my video that the fuel economy is pretty bad. It is really bad. I mean, I don't know what's going on with this vehicle. I completed my test loop in this vehicle in smart mode in 10.4 liters per 100 kilometers. Yes, you heard that right. A double digit for a compact crossover in spring. It's not even that hot out, so it's not like the air conditioning is running too high. It's really bad. In fact, when we compare it to the Sportage that we did a couple of years ago, it was the same engine basically, completed it in 7.6 liters per 100 kilometers. So we're looking at like a 3 liter per 100 kilometer difference. Now, one thing that might be throwing off that is this vehicle is new, has 1,300 kilometers on it, so it's about broken in now. But when I did the Acura MDX Type S, that was a brand new car. I had been the first person to drive it, and I got pretty similar numbers, and I was, gunning it everywhere with that vehicle. Now, if you were to just look at the press release information that Kia has put out when it comes to this generation, they boast that they have actually gotten better fuel economy on this generation despite it actually being a bigger vehicle. But so far in my testing, that isn't the case. I don't know what is going on here, but it is just like insane when it comes to the fuel economy. It's not good at all. Now, the other thing too is our test loop is heavy on the highway, and I actually noticed it was worse in the highway than it was. My numbers were going up as I was on the highway, and they were somehow going down when I was in town. So I don't know what's going on with that. I am going to keep an eye on it because we are going to have this vehicle for a while. We're going to be doing a long-term road test with it, but we're also going to be doing a road trip with it soon, about 2,000 kilometers roughly. So I'm going to be seeing exactly if things just needed to get warmed up and the car needs to get used to how it's going to be driven for the rest of its 25-ish thousand kilometers that we're going to be driving this thing. But so far, not very good. We're looking at more or less mid-size crossover numbers. And yeah, I mean, the vehicle is bigger. It is bigger than the previous generation, but Kia says it has gotten better. So I'm not seeing that right now. If you have one of these new Sportages, let me know how you're doing when it comes to the fuel economy. But so far, I have not been too impressed with it. We're using it up pretty quickly. But anyway, let's talk about some of the other features that come with the new Sportage, because aside from that, and one other small thing that I dislike is we do have memory seating, 2 options here. It doesn't save the mirrors. Now that might be different if you go up with the SX, whatever the top end trim is in the States. I think it's like the X-Line Prestige, and here in Canada it is the X-Line Limited. So maybe it'll do it there, but it doesn't do it here. Bit of a bummer. But everything else about the Sportage is really good. First of all, I love the design. I think it looks great. Exterior, extremely handsome. Looks much better in person than it did when I first saw videos of this, and that seems to be the case when it comes to a lot of the South Korean manufacturers these days. Is on video they look a little different, but once you see it in person, you get to really understand it. So I do like this compared to the cousin vehicle of this, the new Tucson. I say that this looks better. I like the front end of it, very unique, doesn't look like anything else in Kia's portfolio. Out back, very nice as well, very sleek design to it. Overall, very good design. Plus, again, it's gotten bigger. In fact, when I wash this car, which I fortunately do it often, I like to keep all the cars in my garage pretty clean. I find that it is pretty difficult to clean things like the roof because it is so tall. So it's abnormally tall for a compact vehicle, but if you're looking for more space, then the Sportage has it at a pretty affordable price. The inside is where things get interesting as well. I mean, first of all, the exterior is already interesting, but the inside is very nice. It's sleek, it's to the point. There isn't anything to surprise you when it comes to this vehicle except for your controls when it comes to the HVAC and or map settings. It's one setup. It's one little screen here, and you have to change in between each mode. So right now I've got it in HVAC mode, so my twisty knobs are for my temperature and all the buttons. But then if I push the button, it goes to the volume control and the file or the tune, depending on which radio station you're on, and all the controls for the map and things like that. So one screen does both. You have to keep that in mind. If you forget you want to change the volume, but you still get it on HVAC mode, you're going to be changing the temperature. But I think it's very nice. Again, sleek. Yeah, I know a lot of people don't like the lack of buttons. You know, they are essentially a touch screen, but I do like it. You've got the rest of the buttons throughout the vehicle. Everything is easily accessible. They have moved the stop start button. It's now on the center console. Take it or leave it. I don't know, I prefer having it on the dashboard, but that is just me. But everything else is very nice. We have the latest infotainment system from Kia. It works very well. I like it. It's very nice. The gauge cluster screen, a little bit smaller, not quite as nice as you get on the top end, but still very, very nice overall. This goes to show how the Koreans have changed and evolved over the last 5-10 years. Even when you think back to the Sportage that we drove last, things have changed dramatically when it comes to this vehicle, and always in good ways. So, I mean, there's so much to like about it. Plus, one of the things I noticed when I was first driving around is you have 5 air vents in the front here. Usually it's 4. There's 2 for the driver, 2 for the passenger, but I like this. There's 5. 3 of them are pointing towards the driver, which allows me to have a little bit of extra airflow. Now, I'm sure it's probably the same amount of airflow coming out of 3 vents, but I do like it. I can change the direction and have a little bit more control over it, which I do like. And since the console and everything is driver focused, it's all pointing a little bit towards me, much like old school BMWs. Those vents are already sort of in my direction anyway, so I do like them. Seat comfort, very good. I've got a good seating position here, good visibility throughout. It's a very functional vehicle. I've got good visibility, but the seats are very nice. They're all synthetic leather. Nothing is real, which is good for those who don't want real leather seats. So they're very comfortable. Back seat space good as well. Like I said, it's gotten bigger, much more legroom in the back, which is great for pretty much everybody who's going in the back seats there. And the trunk space is good as well. And the one thing you'll notice for sure the instant you start driving this thing on the road is the overall comfort. I find that this thing is extremely smooth on the road. We have some really terrible roads here in Quebec. They do not get better, but with this, it really is forgiving. I don't have to worry too much about some of the larger bumps and imperfections in the road, especially compared to my own car. You feel everything with it. With this, very, very smooth. So I do like driving it. It's quiet in here. It is a very good vehicle overall. It's just the fuel economy is a bit of a bummer. So I'm hoping, again, as we continue to drive around with this, as I put more mileage on it, maybe that will improve. I hope it will improve, because double-digit fuel numbers for a compact crossover, that's really going to make or break it for you. So if I were in the market for this, I would go for the hybrid. That's the best way to go, because you're getting that hybrid system. You're going to be saving fuel overall, and if it's anything like any of the other hybrid vehicles we've driven from Kia, it should be exceptionally good. So I'm hoping to be able to try that one later on, just to see how it compares to this. But I mean, it has to be a significant improvement in terms of fuel economy. I can't imagine it's going to be as bad as this 10.4 liters per 100 kilometers. That's a little crazy. But anyway, I do like this vehicle quite a bit. Goes again to show that the South Koreans know what they're doing when it comes to vehicles. They're making things that people want. They listen to the market. They know here in North America people want more space, so that's why they've created this long wheelbase version for our market. So if you're in Europe, you're looking at essentially the same car, but it's a little bit smaller than it is here. So good stuff from Kia. I'm glad that not only have they come out with something that is updated, because the Sportage really was the old man in the fleet, but I'm excited because I get to drive it for the next little while and I get to see how it is overall. And I am pretty excited to see exactly what this vehicle has to offer, because it's new, it's fun, and I like the look of it. I just wish the fuel economy was a little bit better. But if you have any questions about this episode of Test Drive, please let me know in the comments below. I do try to get back to everybody that I can. Take a look at the other videos that we've done when it comes to the compact vehicles in the SUV segment. We do have a lot of them. We have tested almost all of them in the last couple of years, so you can see how this compares, but it's certainly up there at the top of my list when it comes to a compact consumer crossover. So thanks for watching, and until next time, take care.